Hello, hello, and welcome to the Beth of Fresh Air. Beth here. I always want to sing that song. I don't know if I'll find the key right now. It's in Sanskrit. It says Upadrashta Numanta. It's talking about the great seer. Upadrashta Numanta Chabarata Bhukta Maheshwara Paramatma iti chapiyakto Deheyasmin Purusha Paraha Deheyasmin Purusha Paraha. There we go. So welcome to those who are here. Come and say hello in the chat. Today we're doing a community chat, and it would be nice to hear from you guys and have you guys chime in. So I'm at a kind of interesting time of my life, and the ongoing repeated realization that if there's any trouble in life, I pretty much make it for myself, which is a massive luxury. I have to say, I don't think that many people in the world can say that their trouble comes on their own choice. Hello, Maya. Welcome. So nice to have you here. Miss Quietly Content Bear is in the house. Welcome, welcome. So great to have you here. And so, it was actually interesting. I had something totally different planned for today, and I might talk about that a little bit because it was part of how this came about. I was going to host a friend of mine. I won't say their name. I'm not going to malign them either. Someone local here that has been part of the freedom movement for, since the get-go. They were always there. If there was rallies, they were heroically creating gatherings and hosting people when it was totally against the law. They took thousands of dollars in fines. I think it landed him a stay in his house under house arrest, and I don't know the whole ins and outs and everything of it, but I've been following him, and he has he's gone through a lot of growth, like all of us have, and a lot of different directions and trajectories. And I was tuning in a bit more closely. I was going to host him for an episode of the Evolve series to talk about the evolution of culture. And I couldn't quite put it together when I started listening to him. He's a very, possibly a Christian with the most conviction I've ever come across in my life. Not that I've been in those circles very much. And then, so at the same time as contemplating, okay, where are we going to go with this? Because I just simply don't hold those beliefs. I just don't. I tried super hard, actually, really hard. I was in the process of learning the law post 2020 and trying to find out how are the controllers breaking the law. That led me to a study of the Bible, which is the kind of alt law proof for contracts and all kinds of things. And so the study of it and the fear that came along with all of those times, right? It was crazy. It gave us all a major run for our money. And then so many things, when people are afraid, many things are easily taken in. We're very porous. We're very open. We're very programmable. And so there might be this like, oh, I'm running away from this kind of programming with jabs and restrictions and nonsense and crap and corruption. But then we just go right into the hands. It's like, it's always a pendulum swing. We go right into the hands of another system of indoctrination and programming and another belief system. And so, out of a kind of desperation, seeing that the world was going down, it was the end, and there's some crying on the floor and some praying to God, and a lot of my belief systems in that time completely collapsed because there was no way to match it up with what was going on, whether they were New Age beliefs or having, some new Christian beliefs coming in. And what I had to, in the end and along the way, conclude is that there were, because everything just crumbled. I had literally nothing inside myself to hold on to. The clinging to those beliefs just wasn't reality anymore. So in a way, it was pretty beautiful because it brought me face to face with my creator. And to me, that's like the best possible outcome that could have arisen from all of that there was just no middleman, no beliefs, no system. But still, I ended up in this, okay, like I better try on the Bible. And everybody around me started having similar inclinations. Not that anyone was convincing me. They weren't coming after me yet. And so I went into that book and I studied that book and read that book and tried to make sense out of that book. And I couldn't do it. And some people might point to me and they would say things like, well, it didn't have the Holy Spirit, because the Holy Spirit is what helps you read the Bible and make sense of it. And then it's like, well, you need to be drunk on the Holy Spirit in order to make sense of the Bible, because it doesn't make sense. And I'm not even making that claim. To me, it didn't make sense. It said a lot of different things. It was, if they wanted to put any book into, and this isn't a claim, it's not even a belief, but if they wanted to put any book into the world to create confusion and divide, that one's it, right? Even the creator is not consistent. And this is one of the reasons that God bless you if you're listening, that I we have an author in the House of Free Will who translates the Bible directly from the Hebrew, and he has some very interesting findings that might also be filtered through his belief system and his philosophy and all of that kind of thing. How could it not be? But it helped me to see, so he's saying that the creator of the Old Testament, or the creator in the Old Testament, is not really the creator. That's the Elohim. That's the child of the fallen angels, or I don't know. I see. I won't even get the story straight because it's just so it's such a mess of things. And I can just believe Mark when he translates and comes up with the words that mean this and mean that. And he talks about two creation events, that there's actually two Adams, which makes sense to me, that there are those with living, breathing souls who know right from wrong, and there are those who don't. Like, that seems sensical. Seems like there's evidence for that, and there's no proof for it. So I just go along with it. But yeah, it's opened this massive question for me in trying to prepare for an interview with this person who had such strong beliefs. That, was there going to be any room for a conversation and for connection? So I don't know if I'm putting words in his mouth, but after we had a long talk about it, and I said, okay, just leave it with me and I'll let you know. And then he left me a voicemail with a story about ducks. And some ducks had been killed. There were some wounded ducks and there were some dead ducks. And the moral of the story was, like, leave the dead ducks, but go for the wounded ducks, because they're the ones that the devil is chasing. And that, I think, as the story would go, then there's still some chance for them. They're not dead ducks. They're not a lost cause. And then so I could hear it like he's referring to me as a wounded duck. Now, just to fill in some of the blank, when I went down that Christian path, I wanted friends. I wanted Christian friends. I wanted people to talk to. I wanted people to ask questions with. I wanted fellowship. I created a ministry, which is not anymore. And then I had a string of really bad experiences with them, one after the other, being super aggressive, being super judgmental, being like the Pharisees that Jesus talked about, were actually, anti-love and anti-real spirituality. And there they were judging me for just asking a question, just wanting to learn. I remember the nail in the coffin for me and some of these people was when I asked about oneness. And I didn't even assert or claim anything about oneness, just that it had been part of my, you could call it belief system, but also direct experience. And I'll talk more about that. And not to mention that there are several places where Jesus says in the Bible, I and the Father are one. Like there's so much of that exact kind of talk. But in the Christian circles, I know there's a lot of them. I don't know, which sects and which flavors and all of that stuff, but they don't like oneness at all. And if you talk about oneness, then you're kind of out of the club. And you might have heard me say before that some of them even went to the degree of needing to write a breakup letter with me. And my work in archetypes and deprogramming went under the microscope. And is this actually satanic? And it's really something of the devil. And then they decided that being my friend wasn't good for them, that was going to be somehow taking them off their path. And big long letters, just crazy kind of making. And that could have been exactly the reason that I turned completely away from it. Could even be from my relationship with the Creator, from my like I don't believe in Jesus. I don't believe in Jesus, but do I have a direct experience and revelation on Christ? I do. A ton of them, actually. Can I manufacture any beliefs about that? About if he's a man or he's not a man, or if if the whole narrative that he died for our sins and he cleansed us and we're born, original sin, and we're lost at the very beginning. That's all a belief system, right? I can't find any of that inside myself. And that's, to me, the acid test of everything, that this is all I've got. I can hear the perspective of others. I can hear the belief of others. I can read the claims of others. But if I can't match it up in myself, then I can't just adopt it. And I did try for a little bit. And I tried to actually had to mangle myself internally in order to wrap myself and make sense of in all of this story, right? So I can't say it's not true. I don't, but I can't say it's true either. And then I just started thinking, like, what kind of conversation could we actually have in the context of that? And say if you take it superficially, you might say, oh, well, he has his beliefs and I have my beliefs, and we can set them aside and just connect. And because he's a good person, I know that he's got a lot of coherence in his voice, a lot of beauty, a lot of strength and power, qualities I really admire. But if he's seeing through this lens of his beliefs, then he's also projecting that onto me. And after I got the story about the wounded duck and realized I'm the wounded duck that the devil is chasing, and that there's still a chance for my soul, then it's like, ew, right? I don't want to be seen like that. And I don't have a sense of like not loving the guy. I do love the guy. I really do, actually. And I'm sad that he's not even here right now. I just didn't want to come and create a weird space for myself, primarily for anybody else. I do have a strong sense of responsibility that when I bring things to my community, that they're not going to be misleading people, and me just allowing that. Now, I have misled people because, I did 150 law interviews, and I'm sure many people felt like, oh, Beth interviewed them, therefore everything they're saying is true. But the reason I stopped doing all of that is because I realized the vast majority, if not all of it, wasn't true. Right. And some interviews came out and I didn't take them all down. Maybe I should. I don't know. What do you guys think? Should I just go and X everything that has some sideways stuff in it? I could. It's not my style. If you follow me and you want to see the evolution of my thought process, that's what I find for those that have stuck with me in the longer haul. That's actually, I think, what they are partly attracted to, because I'm not afraid to grow. I'm not afraid to grow in public, is what I meant to say, because first of all, I'm already doing that. And then if I don't fill people in, say if I just dropped off the earth and said, oh yeah, that's garbage and I'm just going to walk away, then I don't give people the chance to see the trajectory of the growth that I'm on, that whether they can relate to it or not. But I have received feedback like that more than a few times, where they say it gives me credibility to see me change my mind over time with new information. And hello, Miss M. Nice to see you. I was thinking about you last night, wondering how you're doing. So yeah, that was tricky. I don't know how to have that conversation when the beliefs are so ironclad and there's no room for any conversation. And like I don't know where to go even with that. You can hear the there's got some work to do here. And Maya said that to see the evolution helps everyone to grow. Right. It's the classic thing of the example when you see someone doing something and they didn't die when they came public and said, oh, I was wrong, or I'm changing my mind, or I see things this way now, or I learned something new. And hello, Sue. Nice to see you. Yeah, we should all be on the path to growth. That, to me, is the ultimate purpose of life, to grow and learn. That's what we're doing here. It's the thing at the end of the day. If you didn't do that, there might be some regrets around. And yeah, that's most convos online. It's true. They really do degrade down into beliefs. And say if we start talking a little bit about the, you are welcome, Marlene. Yeah, if we start talking about the law a little bit, and there's quite a conversation going on right now in the House of Free Will in our law chat. And I was completely going to give it all up. I had positioned the House of Free Will to be a place for learning the law, but I ran out of real stuff to bring to my people. And I'm not that, I'm not the educated in law person. I was just the one who felt like, okay, if I can help bring any greater knowledge to our people, then I'm going to take that role on. I'm going to learn what I can. And mostly it's just been unlearning. And you've been quite active in the chats yourself. Sue said, yeah. So then what ended up happening, interestingly, was after that, like just letting everything slide and taking out the emphasis on the law for the House of Free Will. Then I, on the King Hero chat, shout out to someone who goes there. I'll just, because they have a private handle there. They call themselves private. And he was talking, and there was a little bit of banter back and forth and maybe a bit of arguing around the law and stuff. And when he talks, then he makes sense to me. I came to some of the conclusions that he did about what was off in the alternative law way. I came to it intuitively by asking questions, some very direct, like going, oh yeah, this sounds pretty good. So what happened when you did this law process, for example? And they would say to me, oh, well, I haven't done it. And I'd be like, ah. Or they would say something like, there's no reason why it shouldn't work. And to me, like, that's not good enough. We're not talking about a playground here. We're talking about the legal system with real ramifications and real consequences that are going to come down. So it became, my interest became stronger in what, in a way, what wasn't true. Just so, again, I wasn't an instrument of propagating that. And so when I heard private talk, I'm like, you're matching up with things that I feel are true. It's so hard to say this, because his version of reality comes from or his knowledge of the law comes from him starting out in the alternative law. He was one of the very few actual go-getters, because we had all of us that were sitting in the back row sucking our thumb, and we're it's like we're playing in that arena. But he was one of those people that, again, very rare soul, that took this on, studied, got down into the heart of it, invested tons of time, energy, and money in a process, and then took it to court and got his ass kicked. So then he's like, I wonder what's not right here. Where am I going wrong? And so it sent him to a very humble position. It's called learning, right? When things don't work, it should drive you to deeper learning, not digging your heels into what didn't work or trying to, just backlash and go, oh, they're all so corrupt and they're satanic and they're this and they're breaking the law and all of this stuff. He went to the actual history of law. We joke and call it the hidden history of law. It's the hidden from truthers history of law. And it can explain a lot of why alternative law stuff doesn't work. Now, I'm not really going to even say one thing about it because it's not my knowledge yet. It's come through intuition. I know what to turn away from now, what not to entertain, what not to waste my time on. So that's pretty good. That's the time saver. And then I'm also wanting to learn, and I'm hosting this individual in the House of Free Will for roundtables in law discussions. I think we've had 4 already. The 5th is coming up this Monday. You do need to be a member in the House of Free Will if you'd like to take part in this and learn, see where things come from, and why some of the most basic assumptions in the alt law world are actually belief systems. And this happens to us when you meet up with things that you don't know, can't explain, or actually maybe in the realm of mystery, or you just don't know. Then the tendency is to make shit up. That's what we do because of the discomfort in not knowing. Then the invention of stuff seems to be a good, pseudo in place of reality fix. And you feel better when you're like, aha. And then but you got nothing, and you don't have the truth, and you're resting on false assumptions and a belief system, and it's fake and gay, and that's okay if you're just playing in an arena, but it's not okay for people that are going to go and actually do stuff and might get in trouble doing stuff unnecessarily. So hello, Rosebud, nice to see you and have you here for the first time. Welcome to the King Hero channel, where I do the Beth of Fresh Air every Friday. I guess you're on Facebook, so we're already probably friends. And Em said you're appreciating the convo around Christianity, God, and Jesus because of the belief systems, yet you still want to talk about Jesus and God, and yet it's not in a church. Right, it sounds similar to me, actually. I want to talk about Jesus and God, which God is problematic as a word, so it's a little annoying in my own mind around the subject. I'm not using the word God just because whatever, but who cares? I know what you mean, and yeah, so I feel the same. And you said, since Christianity was made by law by Constantine for power reasons, we can't make sense of any of it. You're reading a book called Misquoting Jesus right now. Interesting. And you also said, what a load of hooey that you can't understand scripture and are missing the Holy Ghost. Yeah. Same people that speak in Babel saying they're filled with the Holy Spirit. It's all self-fantasy. Yeah. I remember one of the last times, might have been the last time I was in a church. And it was one of those, what do you call it when they're like, they're like very active, they're very like emotional, and we ended up on the floor crying, literally. Because you get caught up in the drunkenness of what maybe you think to be the Holy Spirit, but I don't think that's the Holy Spirit. Because why? Because I had a hangover after. You don't have a hangover from the Holy Spirit. And the Holy Spirit is not a drunken state. It's sort of revival-like, Sue. Yeah, sort of. It's very, I guess, evangelical. And what is that word when they are all like yelling? The preacher yells, and it's just very emotional. And so on this tangent, on the emotional side, the emotions in some ways are really the enemy of the truth. And I'm not going to compete with Crow 777 here, who says that belief is the enemy of knowing, but it's kind of true. And so when you get caught up in a belief system and you have a ton of emotion flowing through your system, like cocaine or heroin, you actually do get addicted to it, and you start pairing up things that shouldn't be paired, right? You have strong emotion in the face of a belief, and then you let that emotion tell you the belief is true. For example, have you ever heard anyone talk about, when they get the chills and, oh, that means it's true, and there's my hair standing on its end, and some author, Jeff Brown, I believe, coined the term truth chills. And I've had a lot of those in my life, let's say a lot. And I used to have the same idea about it, that, oh, I heard that and it gave me the shivers, therefore it's true. Well, this couldn't be further from the truth either. It means, yes, there was some resonance of some kind, and it set off my, you could say, endorphins or dopamine, or even what's the, is it DMT? That, which I've never done, but I've, it's almost like you can set off that kind of a thing biochemically in your body. And then, so I've had the truth chills about many things that, and then found out later that they weren't true at all. But those truth chills, like, do you forget about them? And then is that really going to be your marker, how you feel? So we're at a place in the evolution of humanity where feelings have been mangled, feelings have been weaponized. People are mostly avoiding their feelings. They might think about their feelings. They might think about how they felt, but are they really actually going to let themselves experience them now in this time? And it's not easy, because the range of human experience is mostly painful on the surface. And you don't have to believe this. It's not a belief system, but even the good feelings are programmed with fear and have pain underneath them. So this has been my experience. It's you can do the acid test yourself if you get into the deprogramming work, and maybe there's a feeling that comes and you like that feeling. See if you're attached to it. See if you're trying to hold on to it. See if you hope it doesn't go away. See if you're identifying with it. And then if you're super brave, let it go. What I've learned over the years is that you can't let truth go. And every time you let truth go, it expands and it proves itself, right? So, good for you, Jackie Case, catching it by high speed. That's so funny. People who listen on like double time or something like that to get ahead. I have a lot of admiration for that. Sometimes I have to slow those videos down, go even slower. And yeah, it includes speaking in tongues. It's not Pentecostal. There's a word. It's kind of like evangelical. I don't know that word. I'm not very good. And yeah, when the hair stands on the ends, it's piloerection. Yeah, so a lot of different things can cause that. And when you start looking at it, then it's not what it seems. I go by a lot of intuition, and is my intuition always true? No, it's not. I had the intuition to get into the alt-law movement. I had the intuition to go and read the Bible and proclaim my Christian roots, or reclaim my Christian roots. And I had that intuition, and I got to a place of greater information. And so I turned towards it. Another example, I was going to say, just in like the alternative view on all the financial systems. So there's a ton of indoctrination that, the Federal Reserve is a private association. It's like, no, it's not. They just say it, and then you believe it, and it makes sense to, or it made sense to my rebel mind that is looking for all the ways that the system is rigged against us, and that we are, in a war against a system. And that can be true too. It's that indoctrination. It appeals to us to buy into those kind of paradigms. Hello, JJ Hemp Creek Bear. Nice to see you. And thanks for sharing out at any level. I appreciate it. It helps me. Nice to see you guys. And so the financial system, I was just going to finish my thought there on, there's just so much about what that actual system is. And I became friends with a lot of them, and went to conferences where all the talks were about all the ways that money supposedly is. And then created the private association based on all of that and the alternative law stuff. And then I came across Brandon Sterling, young guy. He was very smart. He's a learner. He came forward in the truth movement because he saw so many people going sideways on the financial stuff and just getting really bad advice and like completely wrong takes on how things really are in a reality kind of way. You can hear the theme here. And then so I started to learn more with Brandon, and I had to turn away from the other stuff. Well, that meant a massive divide. The person who helped me to create a fake and gay association with fake and gay paperwork and fake and gay law and assumptions, completely, it was an X. I became the demon. She had to demonize me. She had to malign me. She had to make sure that none of her people that I sent her way, by the way, believed anything or felt I had any credibility. It was just this like complete divide. And it was like, okay, but I can't, just for the sake of staying friends and staying a community and having people love and approve of me, I can't just repeat things that I know aren't true anymore. And you can use your genius on studying what is, and you can use your genius on inventing what is not. So either way, it can hold what seems like a lot of credibility in its conviction, right? I think we're really attracted to conviction in general, that because most people don't have it. They're wishy-washy. They don't bother to form an opinion or a belief. They don't bother to challenge anybody's beliefs or opinions. They don't fact check. They don't go looking for information. They just want to maybe go along to get along. And so when we see somebody with true conviction, it's pretty beautiful, actually. Even if they're by your standards dead wrong, or they're off in their beliefs, or you can't relate to their belief system, there's something beautiful about conviction and being willing to actually stand by things. So yeah. And Sue's asking a question. Thanks for being a loving question. That's all right. Yeah. Did you see my notes today? Or maybe it was in my email. I said, come and throw tomatoes if you need to. So text can come off weird. So if we can't run from the truth, if we know what we know based on personal experiences and are told what we know is incorrect, it can be frustrating. Darn, Sue, you're going to have to help me out, because I'm not totally understanding what you're saying as a evidence of why text can be a little bit crazy. So I didn't get the question part. Not really a question. Okay, got it. So not a question. Can you clarify if you want me to comment on it? If we know what we know based personal experience. Okay, I'll leave it with you to clarify. Yeah, all right. Yeah, it's so interesting. I was up late last night. I don't, or not that late. I've had a lot of different things going on, and I'm watching my House of Free Will ticker go off. Ding, 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 ding. And I'll turn my phone off because I got a lot of work on my hands right now, and I'll turn it over so I don't see it. And I'll turn it over, and it's like, oh, yeah, there's 68 messages. Oh my goodness. So a lot of conversation going on in there, and I'm allowing it to happen because Private is there and he's able to speak to it. I might even shut that thread off if he wasn't there, because they can all have that conversation, but the House of Free Will might not be the place for it. We can talk about it if your will is to learn and you're open to seeing something that you haven't seen before and going deeper than what you have, rather than attaching to the belief system around it. Then there's a lot of food here in this House of Free Will, I tell you. And hello, Diane. Nice to see you. And have I heard of Kim Guggen? Her name is familiar. She claims she's actually the one running the Federal Reserve. Oh dear. But it's right out of the gate there. It's who is that? I do recognize her name, but I can't make associations. And so that claim is kind of crazy, and it's taken a long time to get everything running properly for the people. She also claims she was able to ascend to a higher vibration, and she killed Murdoch. Wrong spelling, but some entity. Oh, Moloch, is it? You can't kill Moloch, I don't think. There's that's the embodiment of evil. Does that exist? Or is there just an absence of goodness? That's a little bit more I'm leaning towards, if I need a belief, a little bit more where so many opposites actually don't come out in the wash, right? That if you look at the simple example of darkness, is there such thing as darkness? No, there isn't. There is light, and there is the absence of light. It's a really simple example, but boy, it works really well. And I'm personally wondering, thinking, is that what we're calling good and evil? Good and evil is a psyop, absolutely a psyop. It is intensely pushed on us in the media, in movies, in books. It took ownership of the hero's journey, that it's this fight between good and evil, and we must overcome and be victorious against evil. Well, what if evil doesn't even exist and we're fighting against something that doesn't exist? That's not a lot of well-spent time and energy. But then they'll go, oh, well, you're in denial and you don't see things. Well, if you were here last week with Maria West, shout out to her, by the way. I just love her. She's so real and beautiful, loving her. I don't agree with absolutely everything, but it doesn't matter. There was enough overlap where we can connect. And why was I talking about her? Darn it. I forgot my point. She was very convincing. Yeah. There was so I'll have to, sorry, you guys, you could remind me what I'm talking about if you like. And there was that woman also. It was maybe 2021 to 23ish. There was a woman who claimed to be the Queen of Canada or something like that. I think she called herself Queen, something that sounded very similar to dildo, very similar. And I felt like that was controllers mocking us to give her a name like that. And then, she claimed that she owned Canada or something like that, that she was the rightful owner of Canada. And it was just couldn't be, further from the truth. There was a whole Indigenous movement that was co-opted and pushed by the UN. Really, it was UNDRIP and all of these characters in the show and these weirdos, and they, for some reason, come in for me. They needed my attention. They needed me to propagate them and be part of that. I was talking about good and evil. And just to say that, thank you, Maya. Thank you. I'll get back to that original point, is that it's not that I don't see if you want to call it evil in the world, or people being evil, or being people lacking good. Again, maybe back to what Mark talks about those that just simply don't have free will to do good or bad. They just don't have that. It's not what they're made of. And Mario was talking about satanic ritual abuse, and she actually helps people with that. That's brave. Wow. I was, just a tiny bit as a coach in that arena, and I considered possibly, is this a calling for me? God's calling me to help these people, and I actually ended up going the other direction and decided I would much rather work for people who were way further down the healing journey along the healing journey path, rather than dissociated and all cut up as into altars and pieces, bits and pieces in their consciousness, and flowing in and out of different realities, like we all are in some ways, but in such an extreme way. That was just not my wheelhouse. Could I help those people that wanted to be helped? Yes, maybe. But anyway, I'm just so glad she's doing it. So it's not a denial of that really awful things are happening in the world at all. Oh, thank you. Yes. So close, Diane, so close. I'll put that up in a second. So yeah, I don't deny it. I had a client who was a victim of satanic ritual abuse. I heard firsthand way too much awful things I will never repeat in a million years, and not just to protect this person's privacy, but because I don't want to give people the trauma that I had listening to that stuff. Hello and welcome, Michelle. Nice to see you. So it's there, but does evil exist? Right? This is a whole thing. Then you have to believe in evil, and you believe in a devil, and you have to believe in these characters, and they're coming for you. The wounded ducks, the devil's still coming for them, and they need to go save those guys from the devil. And if there was no devil, then would we need saving? Right? So if you took the devil out of the equation, and you just came to like an absence of the will to do well, to do good, to follow a moral conscience, to make moral decisions, to decide right from wrong, to allow yourself to grow and develop, and actually be able to put yourself in other people's shoes. Not everybody can do that. They're not there. They don't have that level of development. They got stunted somewhere, probably through injury, through being abused, through being wounded. Their development stopped. Otherwise, it would naturally grow into greater and greater ability to put yourself in other people's shoes, which is amazing, right? I was listening to my son today and talking. He's in the absence of me pushing him to grow, he's growing so fast, all on his own, right? Like he's wanting to be part of society. He's wanting to be independent. He's wanting to do right and do good. I was going to share an example, but it might be too personal. And he wanted to do something right where it's over the top. Like it's not totally appropriate. So I did intervene a little bit, and but I can see it's because he's growing this awareness inside of himself of other people and how they feel and how he affects them and all of this kind of stuff. And so we're not all there. And then what? That's when you end up needing a legal system, because you don't have people that can just go, oh yeah, if I pour cyanide into my river and it flows down that guy's land and poisons all the food he's growing, then that's going to be bad, right? A person that hasn't developed that ability to put themselves in other people's shoes, it's just going to pour cyanide in the river and go bye-bye. It's out of my hands. It's not that they don't care about others. They don't have the ability to put themselves in their shoes and have empathy. So then we need a legal system to step in, because you've got people who don't have the capacity, right? It's kind of what it is. It doesn't mean that we are condoning the system. This is the biggest misunderstanding, because as soon as people hear in the law world, as soon as people hear Private, I'll just keep calling him Private, as soon as they hear him talk and clarify things about, whether it's the birth certificate of the person, or like, I'm a living man and the law doesn't apply to me. It only applies to my corporation. Bullshit, right? No, you were born somewhere under this is the one thing I can say, under the doctrine of domicile, the law applies to you. All they need is your address and proof that you live here to have the law apply to you. It's not based on your birth certificate. It's not based on any corporate fiction. And there is a corporate fiction. It's not you, but the law applies to you. You don't get out of it. And I think that's in response to private pointing things like that out. They think, oh, you love the law, you love the system, you love tyranny, you love being taken down, and you're going to bow. You love bowing to the system because you're talking about real law. It's like, no, this guy went through all kinds of very brave moves and actually went to court, not because he loved the system, because he saw the injustices. So he sees the injustice and he sees the real law. That both can coexist, right? So see how automatically when the two belief systems don't match up, then all kinds of additional meaning starts to be overlaid onto private that's just not there. And I know that for a fact. And so, yeah, it's tricky. And then Ramana Dedulo, like, is strikingly close to that other word that I was saying. Eh? Yeah, it was crazy. We own Canada. I'm the owner. I'm the queen of Canada. And then where is she now? Nowhere, nothing. Often time tells on these things, by the way, when you think things are, or you're wondering whether things are real or not real. Sometimes just wait. Just watch other people do it and go through it and put it to the test to see if it disappears. The natural health world is full of this, where all of a sudden it's a trend. Do you remember there was a few years where it was a super big trend to eat borax, to put a pinch of borax in your water, and it was supposed to kill the nanobots. Now I saw the nanobots, maybe not bots, but I saw the nano things. I saw them. I tested 10 masks and I freaking saw them. And this is not just convection of heat. These are things. I have videos of these things. I was horrified to find them. I didn't believe they were going to be there. I didn't even believe it. I thought it was just fear porn coming down the pipe, right? Well, I do the experiment. I'm like, okay, just going to test it myself. I find the stupid worms are in there. They're probably in everything that comes from China, is my guess. That it's just like, whatever, who knows? I don't know any more about it, but they were there consistently. And so you can operate. My thesis here is that I think we have the potential to operate outside of belief systems. Belief systems are expensive. They're energetically expensive. You go to sleep every night, you're going to forget your belief system. And in the morning, you're going to have to remind yourself of what that is. You're going to have to reconstruct your whole belief system. Who am I relative to this and that? And it doesn't even persist in your sleep, right? No sleeping person is going to tell you about their beliefs. Only a waking person is going to tell you about that. And so I have taken a lot of my beliefs under my own microscope, put it to my own test, used the deprogramming work on the belief, let beliefs go to see if they're real or not. I inevitably find programming under the belief itself. You take the program out, the belief disappears. It's much lighter. You're much freer. You're much, happier without an opposite of unhappy. And so, yeah, I'm just wondering, like, do we really need beliefs of any kind? Or is this part of the evolution of culture, that there was a time, right? Who needs beliefs? Children maybe need beliefs. And did I tell you guys this story already? I feel like I've been telling this story a lot, but maybe it was just in private groups when my son was 2 and my grandmother passed away at 96. God bless her. Lillian Ditchikowski is her name. And so I was taking my son to the funeral, and he was thinking about death because here it is right in front of him. So I think it was when we got home and we were in his room, and he looked up at me and he said, "Mama, he asked me, Mama, am I going to die?" Because he knew that Grandma Dee had died. And I had this micro moment where it's like, well, do I install beliefs that I don't have to maybe save him from pain or fear or looking at something really hard at 2 years old? He asked. I'm not going to sit and tell him. I'm not going to run after him and try to tell him things about death, but he's actually asking me, what does that mean? He's ready for an answer. He's asking. He's open. And so the answer to am I going to die was yes. And I followed it up by saying probably not anytime soon. As far as we can tell, it's not going to happen anytime soon. And he's like, okay. And then he said, are you going to die, Mama? I said, yes, I am, but probably not anytime soon. And then he said to me, okay. And he ran off to play like this. Okay. Right. He could handle it at 2 years old. Right. So why do people need all these belief systems about heaven and about hell and all of this kind of, although that's, heaven and hell is more about controlling your behavior on earth. Do we need a belief system, or can we just enter into it and be open and have all our faculties because of the expense energetically around belief? And you remember those worms? Yeah, back in those good old days, they were craziness, madness. And thank you, Kairamon. I appreciate that very much. And forgive me if I brag about him too much. He's just such a good example of people I never knew that, we just didn't have the same chance, I think, or he's just very unique. M said, outside the human world, the order of nature goes along without consulting books. But humans fear that we need organizations or there will be chaos. Right. Yeah, so that's interesting because I feel like I can easily observe the order of nature, and I can observe it at many levels inside myself and outside myself as well. So then that's less of a belief in order. And you have 2 archetypes. They could be called order and chaos. They could also be called masculine and feminine. And so the masculine is more about the container, the order, and the feminine is more about the chaos in the container. And if you just had chaos and no container, then nothing would happen. And if you just had order and nothing to fill it, then it would be empty, right? So that's why those 2 elements work so perfectly and beautifully together. Just thinking of an example of that I've been saying a lot around. This was a revelation for me. I'll talk about CreatorCode, by the way, my experience lately. It's been a revelation for me on the spiral that I've been teaching about. Many people know about the Fibonacci sequence and the spiral nature of a lot of different things. And we can see how do plants grow like spirals. It's there for the seeing. And I also discovered inside myself the scale of emotion that I'd been taught was a spiral movement. And it's very easily observed. You barely have to memorize anything. It's right there. It's seen. A toddler will demonstrate the scale of emotion. It's not a belief system. You can see them passing consecutively through 9 primary emotions. And so there's the spiral. And so I brought a lot of attention to the spiral nature and to a spiral process that greatly aids in the release work and speeds it up so you can get yourself into higher energy, not to ascend, which is a death, the death cult. By the way, that's what the death cult wants us to do, is ascend, but to just get enough courage to be able to feel and let go of a hard program. They're all hard. And then so this year I was able to see how it's actually the spiral and the linear working at the same time, and that it's the spiral is the nature of the growth. If you see how a leaf unfolds in a spiral up like that, but it also has a straight line trajectory. It's growing. It's going somewhere. It's usually going to the light. That's what the plants do. I know if I don't turn my plants around here, then they will all, they'll do this. They'll just all reach for the window and try to grab as much light as they can. So it's the spiral that gives the linear growth stability, right? That's how that works. They work perfectly together, or as my son used to say, perfectly. So, thank you, Michelle. I really appreciate you guys saying. You know, when I pass feedback on to him, and I always do, when you guys are saying nice things about him or anything that I say about him, I pass it on, and he receives it. He doesn't deflect it. He doesn't get all full of himself and think he's the shit. He just appreciates it, and he says thank you, like this, not needing that, neither trying to push it away. And some people are so, it's hard to give them a compliment because they either like get all blown up in their ego and they think they're so great, or they try to diminish themselves and deflect away from it. He just accepts it. So just so you know, when you guys appreciate him, he appreciates that. Thank you, Sue. I appreciate that. Have I missed a message here? Let's see. Yes, I did. Michelle said, succumbing to evil ought to be paired with taking responsibility for that misstep, then accountability through acknowledgement to the Creator and course correction. Repentance is key. Not sure I totally get it. Succumbing to evil ought to be paired with taking responsibility for that misstep. Okay, I think I get what you're saying. Got it. Yeah. Through acknowledgement to the Creator and course correction. Right. That's what we do. When you see you've gone wrong and you feel bad. And by the way, if you let that bad feeling go and the program underneath it, your chances of doing right after that are really high. Like it just becomes blatantly obvious. There's no deliberating should I or shouldn't I. If there's some way to repent or some way to repair, then it comes naturally on the heels of letting that pain go. So did that pain serve? It does. It's there. It's in our reality. And then that's how you can at least make it serve. So thanks for that, Michelle. I appreciate it. And we're back to Ramana and her cult supporters were arrested in a small town in Saskatchewan in 2025, but then released. Okay, thank you for that update, right? Like you follow these things, and that's good to know. Yep, Queen of Canada. My God. Let's see, lots of good comments. Hello, Jillian. Nice to have you here. I think, did you and I just meet, or I think I'm recognizing your face. You're happy to catch the live and watching double speed to catch up. You guys, I'm so impressed with that. My goodness, it's not easy. Carmen said, you believe that beliefs are okay as long as people are told to keep an open mind and to continue to research and expand their horizon, to put truth first. Nice. Right. So this is what I was telling my guy that might have been here today, that I'm not going to run after you and your beliefs. First of all, there's no time for that. Oh my God, right? If you ran after everybody who held a belief that you felt wasn't working for them, even if it isn't, or even if it is, then life's just way too short for that. So you got to let them have their beliefs. That's why I'm not managing and regulating the conversation on my law channel right now in the House of Free Will, because I don't need to attack and destroy their beliefs, but I do need to be held accountable to what I am allowing to propagate in my world on my watch. That's what I'm accountable for. So I don't need to run after them and change their beliefs, but I'm protective over the House of Free Will, so that what people find there is usable and not misleading. But yeah, if beliefs are part of an evolution and part of a process and part of a system for you, and you are open to taking in truths that challenge your beliefs, then that's amazing, right? That's how I mostly eroded all of my beliefs. Some people would say, like, let's talk love your liver a little bit, because the reaction that I get from people, say, that are really into vegetarianism, or they're into, notice that there's an ism in there, by the way. It's a belief system, it is the clue there. And or they believe in eating only raw food, or they believe in eating rotten raw meat, or they believe in taking copper supplements, or they believe that vitamin A is a nutrient, or they believe that dairy is good for you as long as it's raw from the farmer and you got it on the black market, or they believe that eating carbohydrates is bad and wrong. We have this term empty carbs, which is like, they're not empty, it's food, it's glucose. You will die real soon without that stuff, by the way. And interesting about I'm highly distractible right now. Interesting about Mark. That's fascinating to hear. Pushing veganism. Yeah. Interesting. And yeah, so then there's all these beliefs, and when I came across knowledge that not only was different than my beliefs, but I came to a place of what should have been very severe disillusionment in my beliefs, but wasn't, because I was still holding on to them. I didn't know any better. Then I was confronted with all of these things about what I used to believe. Like, just a little example, I used to believe cilantro was good for me. So when I think cilantro is good for me, then I stock cilantro. I will go to every organic store, any store that carries organic, and I'm going to this section to see if there's fresh cilantro. And I was amusing to myself last night, how much time and energy did I spend cleaning cilantro and removing the bad from the good cilantro, and juicing after it and lusting for it and trying to grow it, desperately trying to grow it in my garden, and eating it by the handful when I'm at the garden. And then what happens as I'm in the process of all of that? Kaboom, my digestion collapses. Like, it's over. You almost lost me a few years ago. And then luckily I didn't die of that. And on the heels of that, started learning the truth of it. But it was tricky, because when I juiced cilantro and other leafy green veggies, I actually got high from it. When I was back in my day sick with cancer, and I learned to do this green juicing thing, and I would chug down a whole liter of green juice, I would get high from it. Why do you get high from it? Mostly because copper is a stimulant. I know it very, very well now. The difference between being high on copper and actually having life energy. They're not the same. It's like knowing the difference between being high on caffeine and having real life energy. They're not the same. One can make you all, I could have coffeed today. I didn't get that much sleep. I had an early morning run to meet up with a farmer, and I'm a little bit delirious right now. I could have caffeinated myself. I don't even remember to do that anymore. But is it actually worth it? I'm just going to, now I can associate the high of caffeine with feeling a little sick. And I can associate the high of copper with feeling a little sick, a little wired, a little tired. So I don't hold the belief systems anymore in the direct face of evidence. But the evidence is not very easy to see. it takes real intense discrimination. It's hard. So you can see how people can have these conclusions about these foods. I literally got high on it. I had a value for getting high. And so I was stuck with that belief to a point of near death all the time. And poor Sue loves cilantro. I know. It was funny last night. I had I could have even been detoxing it, but I smelled cilantro. And I'm like, yeah, that still smells good to me. We go to a Mexican restaurant for tacos. And for a long time, I've been not having the cilantro. And the last time I went, I'm like, yeah, just a teeny little bit of cilantro. I still like it. I don't know why. It still is tasty like a treat, but I just know now not to have it day in, day out and juice 3 bunches in one drink and consume that and think I'm doing something good for my health. So if you're like normal people and you just sprinkle a little cilantro, it's probably not the end of the world by any stretch of the imagination. But if you have it in bigger doses, you're going to pay the price in copper toxicity. Garrett Smith just did a fantastic episode, and there's going to be more to come specifically on copper, because it gets a lot of pushback in the alternative health freedom movement. And they love their copper. They love it. They think it's great. They believe in it, and they don't want to hear from me. There's been a little challenge there. I got this like, oh, can you give me all your best research on copper? So I go straight to PubMed and I pull out research that I think is good, and I ran it by Garrett just to see if he thinks it holds water. Because medical research, they also will say copper is a nutrient, a necessary nutrient, but they'll in the same paper they're publishing all the bad results of it, and then they need to, what Garrett would say, gaslight you. They can't just come out right and say copper is toxic, but they do say that. It's there in the data. And so, yeah, he did a great live stream. And I think there's at least one more to come on that subject, and it's super, super good. But yeah, if you're like normal people and you just have a little sprinkle of cilantro, that's not the end of the world. And I'm not worried about having it once every couple of weeks as a sprinkle either. It's just in volume. Those green leafy vegetables are deadly high in it. I'm pretty sure a lot of my insomnia came from copper, big time, which I do not have anymore. It's a miracle unless I'm dumping copper, which means I'm detoxing copper. And you never believed in cilantro other than you love its flavor. It never harmed you, but you don't go overboard on your foods. That's good. Yeah. See, when you think something is good and healthy for you, here was one belief that somebody said to me. In our winters, we should double up on herbs because we can't get the fresh food and we need all those minerals. So that's where I got this, high speed cilantro kind of thing going. Cilantro is what you miss the most? Interesting. Horrible to grow though. Yeah, it's a pain in the neck. It bolts in about 10 seconds. It creates a beautiful forest of flowers on the other side. It's really fun. I used to eat the seeds that when they would just go green. They exploded in cilantro flavor. That's it was kind of cool. And all of yours, yeah, went to seed. Exactly. Yeah. I was amazed when farmers can produce beautiful, fresh, lush cilantro every week. Now I don't have to worry about that. Caramon, good question. Thoughts on hatred for the world? Well, I just did a very deep dive on a program that instructs you to both love and hate. Very tricky program. It gave birth to the self-love movement. And the people that don't like us in this world, you could say they hate us. It seems like it. They act like they do, for sure. And more importantly, they want us to hate ourselves. They want us to hate humanity. They want us to see like we are an enemy to the earth. We're an enemy to the environment. We're a scourge. We're like a disease. We're a virus on the earth. We're harming Mother Earth. And so hatred is part of this programming, but it's a pendulum. It has both love and hate as these two opposites. Very interesting. In culture, the word hate is hated. And now we have crimes called hate speech. They use that word. Fancy that. Most people have an aversion. They're like, oh, I don't have any hate. No, this is, I don't run that program. I have no hate. Now, in the essence, what you're breaking down are two archetypes called attachment and aversion. We go towards the things that we like. We try to get them, like cilantro. Like I was very attached to cilantro, and I could have swung on the pendulum. I don't know if this is a good example or not, but I could have swung on the pendulum to hate cilantro. Well, I don't actually. I don't hate it. I can even be honest with myself that when I get that little taste in my mouth on the taco, then it tastes good to me. My mouth still likes it. So it still does. I still like cake. I still like, there's some things I don't like anymore, which is fascinating. Like I don't like garlic anymore, and I don't like onions anymore. I lost my taste for those, and turns out they're toxic. But yeah, so hatred, there's a lot of fuckery around this, that we're taught to hate ourselves. But then the new age world comes along and says, oh, you must love yourself as an antidote to hating yourself. But they don't realize it's a fucking pendulum, goes back and forth between love and hate and love and hate. And then so, sorry, just getting a text. And then you're on the map, and you're exactly where, I know people don't like it when I say controllers, but you're where the bad guys want you, on their pendulum, on their map. They don't care if you love yourself. They don't care if you hate yourself, because they know it's a pair. They come as a pair on this program. Now, is there such thing as love without an opposite? Yes, 100%. But it's just a word, and it doesn't touch what love actually is. Just like freedom, it's just a word, but I use it a lot to point towards something that, for those people in my world, in my community, in my courses, who discover what we call freedom for themselves, then we can use that word to point towards it. And love definitely exists, but it has no opposite. It doesn't flip, right? The best, easiest example is when you go out with someone, maybe you're dating, and you fall in love with them, and you love them, and you think they're great, and everything about them is fantastic, and they're just the best. You love them, and your heart flutters, or your stomach flutters when you're going to see them. And then they start doing things that maybe reveal more about them, maybe more their true nature. It's not the honeymoon period anymore. Maybe they start taking you for granted because you're in their life and you love them apparently unconditionally. Maybe they turn dark. Maybe they use the intimacy as a way to allow their shadows to come all the way to the surface, but maybe they don't have the wherewithal to know that's what's happening, and that that's a good thing if they were to actually work and to release those shadows. And then they get into conflict, and this love experience turns into hate. The person that you loved and had a baby with, you now hate them. How could you get that close to someone that you hate? Even though you love them, but now you hate them. And then maybe something else is going to happen, and then you're going to love them again. And then that something else can happen again, and then you hate them again, right? See how it just goes back and forth. Oh, they did what I like, I love them. They did what I don't like, I hate them. And whether you admit to yourself that there's hate there or not, I don't care. Whether you use that word or not, again, it's none of my business. But it is a very observable program. Basic attachment and aversion, and we can live beyond that. We can definitely get off of that map. And when you get off the map, that's where love is. That's where freedom is. It's just there. You don't need to believe in it. There's no belief whatsoever. If I had to believe in it, then I couldn't. I just can't. So there's my big talk on thoughts of hatred for the world, right? Like it's all the programs are ambidextrous, that you hate yourself, you hate the world, you hate people, you hate the system, you hate the monetary system, you hate the banking, you hate lawyers, you hate the courts, you hate the rising prices, you hate, like it's just endless. There's the program can wrap itself around absolutely everything. And we're back to Mark talking about him. Yeah, it's interesting because I haven't had the intuition to have him on, partly because I didn't want him yelling at my people. I try not, I can rant now and again, but generally I'm not yelling at you guys. I don't think so. If I am, let me know, but it doesn't feel like it. And yeah, so yelling, it just doesn't work, because I would always think, like, Mark, you're surrounded by people who are interested in your work, who believe what you're saying, and you're yelling at them. Is this trauma-based mind control where you're abusing them? And so then then they're gonna like pair up these two elements of being abused and, kind of like beaten down, and then they're going to believe what you say even more. I don't know. Like, is that a system? Is that a process? Is there something conscious there or not? Or is he just an angry guy? And he hasn't come to grips with that. And he has many people who were disempowered at one time. I don't know if this is true about Mark at all. So this is not really about him. But if they were really seriously disempowered at a time of their life, and they rise up the emotional scale, they spiral into anger, well, they feel a lot more powerful then. They don't feel like a victim anymore, because it's not the victim side of the emotional scale. It's the predator side of the emotional scale. That's why yelling at people seems like a good idea. Like, I'm yelling at them to help them. It makes no sense, right? If you look at it just even logically, that makes no sense. Anger doesn't save and help people. But it can draw them in. It can be a kind of addiction to abuse and to being subjugated and to feeling like there's somebody more powerful than you. I don't know. Like, this is a lot of projection. So I don't know him. I hear he's not really like that in person. So that's kind of nice. But why would you need that persona? I don't know. Alex Jones can also come across as a really nice guy. If you catch the first part of his interviews on Luke Story's channel, I think there's 2 or could be more now. The first part of the interview always makes me go, oh, Alex Jones, he's kind of a nice guy, actually. I would be having empathy for him. But he's got a very predictable map, or like a predictable trajectory in the discussion. So he starts off all even and kind and nice, and then all of a sudden, woof, ramps it up. And by the end, he's practically jumping on the table and scaring the shit out of you, right? And then I'm like, oh yeah, same old. Okay, same old. So who knows if it's strategy or it's something that just has to, I don't know, be detoxed from our system. So yeah, so hard not to be full of hate. Exactly. I remember when Trump was being elected for the first time, and everybody was just on the bandwagon. It's also back in fashion in Canada to hate and fear Trump. And I saw everybody just hating on him. And it was so popular to make fun of him and so popular to send memes around. And we did the same thing to Justin Trudeau. It became a sport to hate him. And all that does is create a whole bunch of loosh. Could be for the flyers that Joel Schaefer talks about, which I have my own experience of. I don't need to believe in them. I kind of have my own experience around it. Can I conclude anything accurately about it? No. But it just makes you loosh. If everybody's hating, first of all, that sucks the life out of them. Because yeah, you're up in higher energy. Say if you're hating out of anger, rather than just hating yourself out of apathy or grief or fear. But it's super expensive. It's not sustainable. It won't last. You're going to suffer. It's going to eat you up inside yourself to be on that drug of hatred. So yeah, I totally agree. And Maya said, so appreciate LYL and us doing it all together, which I appreciate very well. Imagine if like nobody came along. That's what I expected, because usually when I go off the map and I say things that people aren't usually saying, then I just lose people. But with the Love Your Liver stuff, it was fascinating to watch. Many people recognized the truth. And I think it's because they hit a place in their life. You guys can share with me. They hit a place in their life where the other stuff just isn't working. And they're still seeking. That's how I came to LYL. The old stuff didn't work. I saw it fail miserably. And so I was porous, I was open. And when I heard Garrett talk, you might have heard me say this a few times. I'm like, oh darn, he's making sense. I was disappointed that he made sense because it went against all my beliefs about natural health. And then I listened a second time and I'm like, this can't be true. I don't want this to be true. I really don't want this to be true. But possibly my desire for the truth is greater, or I've been forced. I've just hit a time in my life where I have to be real about my health and not in a belief system. Because if the belief system doesn't work, it's killing me. So then so many people in my world started to look into it, started to notice things. And then there was a lot of people also that just like, get away. There's so many clubs. I'm not in them anymore. There's a lot of clubs. I don't have membership anymore because of it, but I'd rather go with what I know to be demonstrable in my system. So thank you, Maya. Yeah, at the world. I think I finished in that thoughts on hatred at the world. Did that make sense what I said, Karaman? And Jillian said, wow, I was so meant to catch this tonight. Such a great mirror. That's awesome. I'm in the process of creating a meet the mirror exercise. That's a little bit of a inside thing. And Carmen said, I'm stuck at hatred since like 2021. Good for you to know that. Good for you. That's amazing. If you were 100% stuck in hatred, you wouldn't even say that. You wouldn't know that. You wouldn't have that self-awareness that you're stuck in it. And the pendulum doesn't swing to love. Well, the pendulum can take a long time, and you can be more on one side of the pendulum. It doesn't mean the whole program isn't there. It just means that you're attached or identified at that side and that position. So, yep. Yeah, and you don't want it to swing. That's just going to put you into some kind of fake experience. And yep, garlic and onions. Yeah. So sorry, Sue. There's literally a mourning process with Love Your Liver. When you start discovering everything in your diet that actually is toxic, then it's sad. It's heartbreaking. It's not just that your beliefs have to die, it's that your cupboards are going to look like a graveyard of things you don't want to eat. I actually got some amazing beef from a farmer today, and I had to get accountable to my freezer and not like eat all the fresh beef. Now I had to turn my freezer upside down, had my son here doing that. So everything new goes on the bottom, and everything that's not new goes on the top. And I came across a ton of food that I don't want to eat anymore. Darn it. Oh, I was just like holding my head in the pain of it. I have to find someone who wants to eat. Anyone want a lot of pork, bacon? I stored a bunch of that at the bottom of the freezer. Darn. And so it's a real thing. What to do with it? That I was thinking, oh, I'll just eat it. It'll taste good, and then I'll use it up. You can do that. You got a bunch of garlic and onions and you just don't want to throw them in the garbage, then that's good. Or you could give them to someone who does really, still eat garlic and onions, and they're just going to go buy it anyway. So you may as well pass it on. But it is a very big transition. And I think I'm not talking out of turn here. If you are a member of the Love Your Liver program, with Garrett Smith, then it looks like I am going to be doing a deprogramming session for his members exclusively to help them overcome the emotional attachment and aversion to to the diet, to changing your beliefs, to letting go of the belief in natural health as a belief system, and to working through when you go through health stuff, like when you have a bile dump and you feel sick, it affects your emotions, and stress affects your physicality, right? So there's many ways that this process is a very big a benefit along the health path that he's doing that is more biochemistry oriented, which I have a lot of respect for. And in my opinion, you should be doing both. Don't rely on the mental, emotional, spiritual, because it worked for me until there was a time where, the toxicity in my body caught up with me. And that's just a fact. Could I have released my way to the other side of it? I don't know. I think this was exactly why the timing of running into LYL might have come to my awareness, because I was running out of time at the physical, right? I had cancer at 29. For God's sake, that you shouldn't you shouldn't have advanced level toxicity at 29. If you're sick at 29, then oh my goodness, that doesn't bode well. So if you're younger, then you might feel healthy and you might have the luxury to have all kinds of beliefs in different things, and but you won't at some point. And maybe you will. So this is one point about belief, by the way, that I'll just throw in. I'm not writing it off completely. And I believe, there's that word. I feel, which is the same as belief, but I sense that it can be perfected. Belief can be perfected. There's one person in my life in particular that I'm going to watch and see how belief over time is going to work, because again, with very strong conviction and nearly infallible, what appears to me to be infallible belief, it could work. Now, do I want to spend all my time perfecting a belief system? Nope, I don't. That's not my jam. And that's more the child archetype. That's not derogatory. That's not putting anybody down, but that's the child that is much more immersed in the world of belief. And so I just want to make sure people know, like, if you want to use your belief systems, it's fine, but go the distance to perfect it. Otherwise, doubt is always going to creep up, and you're either going to completely suppress that and deny it, or you're going to suppress and deny it. That's pretty much all you got there. Jackie said, the confusion is controlling and used in a lot of hypnosis. Yeah. Oof, you said a mouthful there, Jackie. It's the confusion is the big thing. Guess what archetype the confusion is? Same one, right? It's the same child archetype, extremely vulnerable to confusion. So all you got to do is this, play a shell game and like, oh, fact, fiction, belief, hatred, love, all of this. And then the child goes into confusion, creates some overwhelm. They dissociate. They're like, okay, I'm not here anymore. I don't put my attention on that which is causing the confusion, and I'm not going to look in anymore. So it takes a lot of personal desire for freedom, actually, to be able to go through the confusion. Now, you can let confusion go. People don't realize it's not based on, confusion doesn't go away when you sort out the facts. Or that's a different kind of thing. You can actually let the experience of confusion go, which makes you much more available for the facts if they're there. So yeah, major, they control us through this child archetype, through confusion. Absolutely a hypnosis. No freedom in Europe, sorry to hear. And you can't even complain. You mean legally it's against the law? It's Mark Passio, by the way, so we'll see if this gets to him or not. I don't think so. I don't think I'm on his radar, but I didn't think I was on Santos Bonacci's radar too, and he started being shit talking me, and especially on the LYL stuff. He did not like it, and I think it's because his liver is really damaged. Personally, that was my take on it. Whether I'm right or not, I don't know. And it's why you couldn't even finish his podcast. He literally abuses his followers verbally. Exactly. I mean, and for hour upon hour upon hour upon hour, it goes on forever. And then people do actually bow down and research and study. Like, it's like somehow this is the Bible on all of this stuff. There's something there that doesn't quite work. Maybe they're just passionate. It's possible, Jackie. Pointless to insult his people and call them trash. I know it's abuse. There's a lot of other people that have a similar style. Even Garrett Smith, he used to be more like that too. If you go back into the older live streams, like God bless him, I couldn't love him more. But if you go back into the old live streams, he's more abusive. He's edgier. He wasn't as well as he is today. His demeanor and disposition has changed. And he has a value for growing and learning. This is, again, very high on my list of values. And so I can't hold that against him in the past. He was still delivering good facts. And, that's one of the reasons that I've been encouraging him to create newer materials out of his foundational stuff, because it's a much clearer representation of who he is today. Yeah, Mark was in the club. Which club is that, Jackie? I think I lost the plot. Oh, Mr. Paul, I miss you, by the way. I don't know if you're still here, but I miss you. We should connect soon. I think of you often, wonder how you're doing. So great to see you here. Thank you for coming. My living room. Passio even said he will break the teeth of someone if they insult him in real life. Oh, I'm in danger. He does not even say what he preaches. Yeah, this isn't to call anyone out, but there's some observations going on. And he's in that anarchist club. This is my first year in 5 years that I won't be at an Acapulco. And that's actually okay. I'm pretty okay with that. Is it happening right now? I think so. Interesting time right now, 3:33 on February 13th. Oh yeah, it's Friday the 13th, 3:33 here in Central Time. Does it mean anything to me? No, it doesn't. I just think it's fun. And a lot of anger used to be calm. He used to be calmer and genuine. That can be a sign of increased liver toxicity over time. I notice people on their deathbed get really pissed off when their liver goes. Yeah. And his friend Jay Parker is a victim of satanic ritual abuse. He came from Luciferian family. Yeah, wow. Intense. Mark did a lot of work. He also funded Free Your Mind Conference. Oh, I didn't realize he funded it. It's a YouTube channel. Yeah. And the angry vegan sounds like a meme. Yeah. Strangely, they have the worst livers ever. Hey, and they believe they're doing beautiful things for themselves. That's hard. Memes are accurate. Veganism is starvation. That's it. I believe, can't even stop saying I believe, but my intuitive sense, math that could be completely off, is that veganism was propagated in order to propagate starvation and make starvation normal and make the feeling of starvation normal. And that's what happened to me, actually. When 2020 hit, I stopped eating because it was all an emergency. Every bit of work I did, every podcast, everything seemed like it was urgent, needed to be done immediately. I lost my taste for preparing good meals, even though they weren't the best. I starved myself. And it didn't go well at all. At all. Like I resorted, my body wouldn't get even hungry anymore. I would go right to feeling sick. My body would have to feel sick to get me to eat. So definitely not there anymore. But yeah, that was, starvation is one of the main ways to take the populations out. And they've been doing it for decades, if not more already, just having all the wrong foods, because having the wrong foods is a form of starvation, but it's not the real thing. Like, honestly, if I only had poison food, I'd eat it, because that is better than real starvation. Carmon said, he said that the slavery of animals to even drink milk, take eggs, is, and that only veganism is moral, right? Because morality is a big part of the platform there. Yeah. I do love his concept of relativism. That's smart. I think that works personally. And yeah, there's always good stuff. You're still 17 minutes behind Cilantro. Interesting. Love this stuff, but think I'm part cow. Yeah, I eat like a cow too. Absolutely. Most of these greens get grazed while you're working in the garden. Not meant to have too much of anything. That's a very big key, Jillian. You'll hear this later if you're still catching up. But a very big key is just, smaller amounts would have done me well. But I believed it was good, and I had the belief system that more of a good thing is good, is more good, and it's not. Hello, Mr. Lunderground. Haven't seen you for a while. You're great at numerology, astrology, and low vitamin A health. Yay, that's awesome. Good for you. So what would that have meant that it was February 13th at 3:33 p.m.? Anything? Or am I just playing? Liza said, I think we always have to be wary of the individual working through their personal issues and using technology and human followers as a therapeutic ego tool. And thank you for this. She says, I do a great job of not abusing. Thank you. Go out of my way. Why would I abuse you guys? Honestly, this is a massive honor to me that you will take even 5 minutes of your day to come and have a chat with me, or to listen to something that I have to say, or to listen to something a guest of mine has to say. This to me is a great honor, a very humbling honor. I don't take you guys for granted. I never know if there's going to be even one person on a live stream or not. It's always a risk. And so I think it's great that you're here, and cannot even imagine why I would abuse people, other than if I thought that would keep more people around longer, then I still couldn't do it. That would just be, to me, absolutely fake. I don't think anyone does that on purpose, though, knowingly. Michelle said she can't listen to someone who yells chronically. Yeah. It's just like, you turn that off already. Vibe is everything. That's why I almost had my buddy on today, because of, he's got a coherent nature. He just does. He's got a coherent voice. You can see he's grounded, and so it's good. But yelling is not coherent, not grounded. And you forgot it was Friday the 13th. I just remembered. What are they supposed to feel like? Who knows? And all the beliefs around Friday the 13th. As a rebel, I started loving Friday the 13th because everybody was scared of it, right? I started loving that instead, just out of a rebel nature, which has no basis in anything. Give me a second here. And yes, exactly, Jillian, that people have their stage face. That was a major point of disillusionment for me when I used to go to a lot of live music. And I started putting myself in positions where I would end up working for the event in some way, maybe putting up posters. So I always got backstage and I could meet the artists, which I really wanted to do. It was one thing just to go in and hear their music. That wasn't enough for me. I wanted to know them. I wanted to be able to say hi to them. I wanted to be able to maybe give them my music so they'd think I was great and take me on tour with them or something. I had all kinds of dreams. And I remember meeting, I won't remember his name, but I had listened to him so much, and I just thought he was everything, and his voice and all these really cool songs. I met him and he was a total jerk. He was an asshole. He couldn't bring himself to be kind or warm. When you gave him compliments, it was like you insulted him. You could feel all his body just go into some kind of contortion or something like this. And it was stupid. I stalked him just a tiny bit, but after I realized who he was in person, who knows, maybe that was the act and he's more himself on stage or something like that. It's hard to tell. A lot of people hide in real life, and then they go and be them real self on stage. So they've got an outlet for that. I think Carol Burnett was a little bit like that or something. I don't know. But yeah, it's one of the things that drove me to value authenticity, because then I don't have to figure out, who am I right now? Who am I talking to? Who do I need to be? What story do they need me to have so that they love and approve of me and I stay safe in the world? That to me, it's just exhausting, and I don't know. I don't want to spend my time that way. So I like to be the same person, whether I'm in public or whether I'm in private, more or less. I swear more in private. My son knows that. I swear quite a bit today too. And then, yeah, Mark used to be a satanic priest. That's part of his claim to fame, that he knows that whole world, and therefore he's an expert in it, right? Yeah, part cow. Jillian said, when someone really goes off on one, we do have a choice on how to respond. You have a bad habit of finding it funny when someone really starts going off on one. Yeah. Well, it's a lot of energy, right? So if somebody goes off on you, they're blasting you, and it's going to challenge your nervous system. So one of the ways to contend with a nervous system that's being challenged is to laugh, because to actually find it funny. It discharges all of that blasting that they're sending you. It can be a different kind of laughter too. It can be the laughter of pride and judgment, because there are things when, say, somebody's super mean to you and they just like yell in your face, and then you laugh at them. That's pride. That's a different thing. But there can be the humor that is just, it's just a response. It's just like an honest response to something that, is a ton of energy. So that's my story. Lenderground said, Friday the 13th is lucky. This is what the multimillionaires GG33 numerology trader Run It Up said today in his Twitter space. You discovered the low vitamin A diet through someone called Thor. Yeah, I almost had Thor on, but if you look into Thor's background, he's all tied up with like the White House and stuff like that. So I couldn't follow through with it. Plus, he won't give Garrett and Grant Jenner any credit whatsoever. He acts like he invented the vitamin A thing, so it didn't feel right promoting him myself. The toxicity one is interesting. When you were young, you were really lucky to live in the country, bare feet on the earth, a lot of great food, but other toxic stuff. Yeah, the country can be a very toxic place, sadly. At the farm I worked with, depending on where the wind was going, if the farmers were out there spraying their junk, even though it's miles and miles away, if it's blowing exactly the right way, there it is in your face, in your yard, in your everything, right? It's not necessarily the healthy place to be that you would hope it would be. M said, it's really wild, the number 13 missing in elevators. I was just thinking about that. Exactly. That's very serious cultural indoctrination, that it would end up being in buildings, that they would build that in. I guess knowing the psychology, it would be so interesting to know this. How did the number 13, it might be worth some research, because there might be something. How did the number 13 become demonized? And then, yeah, I feel like that would be a fun rabbit hole to go down and see if there's anything. I don't know if there would be or not. It'd be definitely interesting. Jillian said, as I went through life, the balance of toxic influences has been interesting to watch. Just getting some time with young family shifts everything in good ways. Yeah, it really does. Absolutely. Yeah, it can get you out of a lot of useless stuff. I loved it when my niece and nephews were very young, and we spent a lot of time with them and looking after them. And my son was young, and they took all of our attention. It brought our family together in a really beautiful way for a time when we all had our attention on these growing, developing beings, and then it all went to hell, unfortunately. You enjoyed Carol's shows? Yeah. There's a real genius in there, actually. There's something going on, and she might have been, who knows, everybody in that world, it seems, came from some kind of abuse and entertainment and Hollywood and whatever. Yeah, The Angry Vegan would be a really good book title. Exactly. Yep. And Carmon, are you talking to me? I speak naturally, fluently, coherently, like live here or on a scene to a large audience. Yeah, it's thank you. I appreciate that. I have been speaking in front of people in one way or another for quite a long time, putting myself on stages long before I was ready for that. And every time I got on a stage and I spoke, it would teach me about speaking. It would inform me. I would learn by failing, learn by not doing, learn by making no sense at all to anyone or myself, and just being brave enough. I don't know, to put myself out there. I've seen some people, for example, Brandon Sterling. I don't know if you're going to hear this or not, and this is no takeaway, but at the very beginning, he wasn't that great a speaker, wasn't super fluent, and yet I could feel the vibe underneath that, even though he didn't have the speaking skills. Well, he's come a really long way. Now when he teaches, it's so fluid and it's still fast. I wish I could listen to his stuff halftime. But he's become a much better speaker. And yeah, just over time doing it, just keep doing it. That's been my secret. We did some speaking training of others too. So there's some tips and stuff like that, but I don't use any of that. That's not for the purpose of marketing. It's just, I probably actually do marketing very badly, to tell you the truth. I could do it better knowing what I know, but I'm happy to have things work more organically. People that are genuinely interested in my work, they do come this way. And if I have to sell it to get people here, then it's just not quite right. I don't know if I'll get to the end of my life and feel like, oh, Beth, you could have done so much better. And I maybe, could have had more, whatever. I don't know. I think that's a program talking to. And you always have a nervous laugh. Your mom had to warn others at funerals about it so they wouldn't wouldn't mistake it as an intentional rudeness. Yeah, there's a lot of different ways. Like crying and laughing can come up from a lot of different places. You can't assume, oh, they're laughing, they're happy, or they're crying, they're sad. It's not necessarily like that, right? You can cry out of enormous joy. You can cry out of courage. You can cry out of course, apathy and grief and fear even. The tears look like grief, but it might be more like fear. I've cried when I've had the revelation of a program. It's just so like, oh my goodness, just out of seeing reality, I cry. So yeah, all of those things. Same with yawns, don't mean anything. This is where GNM falls. Speaking of belief systems around the health movement kind of stuff. They're like, oh, you like to grind your teeth at night, therefore you have a biting complex. And they project that belief onto you, and then you gotta go and find out your biting complex, and then you're gonna figure it out, and then you're gonna be healed. And it's just like bullshit, right? It's just a belief, and it's a projection of a belief. So the end. Your house number is 13. Well, that's good. Yeah, the vegan thing is very interesting. Your body just said no more to dairy. So this is a good thing about the vegan thing. And it's good your body said no to dairy, because it's just like jammed with all kinds of wrongies. Yeah, you got vitamin A at the top of the list. You got calcium, way too much calcium for us. We need some calcium, but not the amounts that are in dairy. They made the RDA of dairy to be equivalent to what we can get out of dairy. So it's way inflated. Did you know chemtrails? They spray, I know, like our people say strontium, barium, and aluminum kind of thing. But the chemtrails, there's evidence for it being calcium carbonate, like Tums. That's why I always have a chalky substance. It's chalk. On my balcony, I've got a black glass table, and every single day it's white like dust. Not just, it speaks to me of this calcium anyway. And but yeah, I mean, and it no longer felt okay for animals to be killed for you. Right. There's no panacea, and not for you to dictate either. Yeah. It's That's a big one on the beliefs that an animal shouldn't die for you. Neither do I need to tell you what to believe, but I don't know if I want to go into that. I've got a really good, beautiful friend. Love her a lot, immensely, and she's just not going to eat meat, and then so she's not going to get protein. And it turns out that protein powders are all absolutely garbage. You do get some protein. I'm impressed with the amount of protein you actually get from a grain, but because grains have been demonized too, and carbohydrates have been demonized, so that's even lower. If you're just eating fruits and vegetables, you are starving for protein, and that's going to hurt. That is going to hurt sooner or later. And dairy has good protein, but all that other stuff makes it super wrong for you. I never thought I would give up dairy entirely, but I did. Amazing. I just, I don't have it. I don't have it. I don't buy it. The very last dairy that I ate was creme fraiche, because if you are going to eat any dairy, small amounts of the highest fat fermented version apparently are going to be the lowest in what is it? Maybe the calcium and vitamin A. I don't remember even. Oh, no, house number 13's there. Fascinating. Is Mary Magdalene the sacred 13th? I also wondered if the number 13 was the whole, that you get the 12, maybe, disciples, you get the 12 signs of the zodiac. And what is the whole zodiac, or all of the disciples at one time is the 13th. It's the whole. So that was that's what I made up about it. And Emma also gets the giggles in church during super serious sermons. Yep. Yeah, there have been a few crazy funerals out there where somebody, or like you end up with a child in the funeral and they do something so crazy and so weird and you can't not laugh. And it's so hard and you're like literally killing yourself trying not to laugh. And then somebody starts and you got to leave. It's really embarrassing for sure. Kairamon asked, do I believe that divinity allowed this evil to manifest in order to test humanity? Oh boy, there is a loaded one. I'll just start by saying no. You get into all kinds of circular arguments there, and then so the only conclusion that you can have in that belief is that God created evil to test us, to give us contrast. This is the biggest thing. Like we somehow can't know love without hate, or we can't know good without evil. That to me is absolute crap. From my observations, we have a pure source. I don't find evil in the creator. I don't find any contrast. Do I need contrast to have a conversation and experience with my creator? No, I don't. I don't need misery to come to my creator. Do people use misery as a way to find their creator? Yes, they do. And can you? Yes, you can. But they're not in relationship with each other as if you need one in order to have the other. This is a very big abuse of knowledge. There are things like that. I was talking about the masculine, feminine. You can't have a masculine without a feminine. They are the same. They work together. They're the yin yang. You can't have yin without yang. That's different. But this is the indoctrination that in order to teach us to be good, God created evil to dangle evil and see if we're going to be bad or not. Like, no. Absolute crap. It's just a big fat no. On that one. Oh, growth hormones in dairy. Exactly. I wonder if that's how I ended up with that crazy growth on my finger. I wondered. That is completely healed now, thanks to Garrett's advice. Yeah. Why are we getting growth hormones? That makes no sense at all. There's nothing wrong with growth hormones when you're growing. Right? Jillian said there's number 13 in our street and you live in it. Very good. Good for you. And you didn't die and you're doing well. 13, yeah. Is it 13 moon? Do we have 13 moons in a year, depending on when you start counting? 13 months that we don't have. And Jillian agrees 13 is the hidden completion. There you go. She's also asking about Cal Washington. Well, he's in the fake and gay law world, propagandizing a bunch of stuff that's not real. Kind of interesting. I got a notice that his organization In Power was about to charge me for a membership, which I find fascinating because I was gifted a membership to In Power. So there was no payments. Somehow they still have my credit card on file from what? I don't know. And I managed to kill it in time. But that was a bit strange. And then when I tried to get Cal to chime in on a bad experience, I had an experience with a guy who's grifting in the truth world who might be coming clean too, to give him the benefit of the doubt. I somehow doubt he tunes in with me at all. But and so I spoke to Cal about it. Cal came out of the gate, acted like a champion for me. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I didn't expect that. I'm literally just feeling, I wasn't expecting him to champion for me. Go speak to this person. Well, after he spoke to the person, Cal turned against me, said, this is inappropriate for me to even talk on this subject. Oh, okay. So you're going to protect the guy who's stealing? Okay. Interesting. I met that guy through you. That guy has credibility because of you, Mr. Washington. And so that was suspect. Did I do anything about it? Did I rail against them? Nope, I didn't. I just went and did my own healing work. And does his version of the law hold any water? No, it doesn't. It just doesn't. Right? It's not real and true. So, if no, that's okay, Jillian. I sound mad, but anyway, that's just what it is. I have loved Cal. Maybe I'm doing a love-hate thing. Who knows? But I had respect for him. I was working in Power. I was remembering this the other day. I was actually trying to be one of their people that ran meetings and got more involved and had more responsibilities and things like that. Thank God they didn't accept. They rejected me. Thank God they rejected me because I would have been awkward. I would have had to quit when I learned more. So yeah, no apologies necessary. But he said, really doesn't feel truth that you're being tested with the whole good versus. That would make the creator a real twisted mother effer. Right? That's games. That's manipulation. What about free will? If that is given by the creator, then testing them and tricking them and trying to lure them into doing wrongs to see if they do wrongs or not. Who would do that? Can you imagine a parent being like that? Testing their child and then punishing them when they fail? That's not giving them a good chance at all. That would not be a loving creator, in my opinion. Alex Jones again was saying that the divinity wants us to reach the stars, that divinity won't let anyone into the higher realms, so a test is needed. Sounds like drama and a belief system to me, and I wouldn't take any advice from that guy. And if it's not the case, in my opinion, why do I believe that the world is like this? Well, that's another big load of, you got a lot of big questions there. Why is it like this? I'll say that people are not brave enough to look at the truth. They don't have the nervous system. They have been, very severely, intensely harmed and maimed, and through trauma-based mind control in the form of war and the decimation of cultures. How did my family get so effed up? They were the victims of, it wasn't quite the Bolshevik Revolution, but what led up to that. They fought against the communists in their country. They paid the price. And so, my grandfather, my great grandfather turned into like a pretty, what you might call evil guy, actually. The goodness was drained out of him by all of the death of his own family, his own wife. I don't need to say all this stuff, like terrible, terrible things happened. He became a terrible person, and he became a tyrant of a father. So my grandfather also was not a nice guy. He was nice to us. Luckily, the grandchildren saw a nice guy, kind of Santa Clausy. But, he was abusive right to the end of his life. That wasn't that long. And so it's a perfect formula, right? Like, you treat people terribly, you abuse them, you traumatize them. They go into their fear programming with a vengeance. It seems like a good last resort, but it's not. And it gets perpetuated and amplified over time. It becomes normalized in our culture. Having PTSD is normal in our cultures. That's become a normal word, PTSD. That's part of our lexicon and our conversations. What was I was going to say something about? I think I was writing something for my course yesterday. Maybe I should say a bit about that before I go. Wow, it's 2 hours already, you guys. This has been fun. Thanks for being here. Yeah, too many things to say at one time. I don't remember what it was. Something. This won't be my last time. I'll be back again. Have I heard of Israel Anderson? Not really. And yeah, no apologies whatsoever, Jillian. I don't mind the deep stuff. That doesn't bother me. It just doesn't bother me. If it brings up bad feelings, then it just shows me I have bad feelings to release. That's all. So, yep, no apologies. Unless you're attacking me, I don't mind big questions. Read the payment in power is organized by volunteers, so some things get wonky. Right. To give them the benefit of the doubt, it was just strange given what I'd been through. So I don't mean to overlay any meaning on there that might not be there at all. And I didn't need to do anything. I just fixed my own account and it was over. But yeah. And I'm glad you're enjoying my perspective. And thank you, Jackie. You're so generous. You always remind people to hit the like button, which I never do. And yeah, great questions from the chat. This is exactly what I was hoping for. It does feel, in fact, like a breath of fresh air around here. Yeah, no worries at all. They are the big questions, Carmen. Those are the big questions. They just are. And it's the big questions that are hard to answer where we start to fill in the blank with belief. So it's right on point that if you get to the end of the place that you can know and it brings up discomfort for you, can you stay in the discomfort, release whatever it brought up in you? That's the hard part. It's not just stay in the discomfort, because that's like a torture. That you don't want that. But if you can't find the programming that holds it in place, the next, what seems like most reasonable thing is to program yourself with a belief, something that takes the pressure off, makes it seem lighter, makes it seem less intense, less dangerous, less something or other, right? So, yeah, so maybe it's funny, I did not even get to CreatorCode. I was really going to be sharing more about that. Maybe I'll leave it for next time and say more. I've just been a mad creator in the back end. I've got my people running through a course, and I have really put myself in their shoes. So the difficulty that people have visioning and creating and constructing, or maybe just articulating a vision, or actually building and constructing, I have full empathy for that. Full empathy. I've put myself in the hot seat in a big way. And thank you guys. It's so great to spend time with you as well. I have the warm fuzzies. Definitely. You love this show. Thank you. I'm going to quote you, Carmen. Sue said this is very enlightening. Wonderful. That's so good. See, honest, open inquiry. What the heck? That's a good game, right? All right. So I'll just let you know about a couple of things coming up in the House of Free Will. Alex Michael is going to be coming to give a talk on Tuesday at 11 a.m. Central Time. And we're going to be having a roundtable about creativity. He can't come and give a lesson and a workshop and teach you how to be as explosively creative as he is, but we can jam on it. We can have a jam session on this, and we can like osmotically pick up on where his creativity comes from, and just have fun with it and see where is that source of creativity, which is kind of a different question, but we'll have fun with Alex anyway. He's the bomb. I just love that guy. And yeah, the headspace from today, that's a good question, it was in some ways kind of an overwhelm on the belief thing, just watching my people fight it out over beliefs around law. They're just fighting the guy who knows the real thing, by the way. They're not fighting each other. They like each other. They're a good team. But so that was, and I can't chime in. I can't make any claims. I don't have the knowledge to do it, but I support Private giving very generously of his knowledge. And yeah, so he has my blessing to carry on that conversation. And yeah, seeing people in conflict, watching myself be in conflict with the guest that I was going to have on, who has such strong Christian conviction and beliefs. That was all. That's what inspired me today. So there you have it. All right, my dears. Well, I will leave it at that. And if you want to join us in the House of Free Will, by the way, you can apply to be a member at this link. And what I'll share in the chat, I believe it. I bet it's not in the notes below. I think I've not been sharing it, but you can always find it at my website as well. And one other thing is we're having a roundtable in law. That's coming up on Monday. So this is Monday the 16th at 6 p.m. Central Time. The guy whose name is known as Private on Telegram is going to be coming and helping us to debunk some of those really basic alt law lies out there, so that we could have a clear head and free up some space in our brains for the truth. Yeah, all right. Yep. It's always tricky. And on top, yeah, and then I'm on top of the massive creative project that I have given myself, then it has felt, dare I say, overwhelming a little bit. Yeah, but I'm letting that go. All right, everyone. I love you guys, and I'm going to play us out. See how clumsy I am at doing this. Doesn't go that smooth. There might be a better way. All right, we'll see you back again for Beth of Fresh Air next Friday, be the 20th, and maybe in the House of Free Will for 2 events this week. Love you guys. Bye for now.
Almighty true guide, Lord and supporter of all, forever free from identity. Be well, I'm dwelling in you. Be well, I am dwelling in you. Be well, I am dwelling in you. Vidrashkanu manta, Shivarta Gupta, Maheshwara, Paramatme, Ijabi Okto, Deyasmin Purusha.